Hello there, Alan Plum here again with a little more from Shed Engineering. And here we have my second Loco that I purchased this morning. As you can see, it's a Graham Farish model. I purchased it from Trains for You Limited in Peterborough, down on Fengate. If anybody's interested, if you head towards Flag Fen in Peterborough, then you're at the right side of town. Most people will direct you from there. The Loco was £96.96, and they fitted me a DCC chip there and then at no charge, £17.85. The normal Grahan Farish packaging with the double packaging, and I think she's a lovely model. So yes, as you can finally see, we've got our second Loco. No big deal for many of you out there who have got quite sizable collections. I suppose if I asked some of you how many you had, you could probably only come up with an approximation. So this being my second Loco is quite a milepost, so to speak, for me. So for a minute let's just watch her in action, while I apologise for not putting up any videos in the last few weeks, but I've been quite busy lately. Well, not busy, but one of my self-employed jobs is salting the paths around the hospital on cold frosty mornings, so I'm leaving home around 2:30. Luckily I can bring other jobs forward, but I'm afraid it knocks my body clock absolutely haywire, and with my partner's mobility severely impaired, then fitting in the shopping, cooking, cleaning, when you're all at 6s and 7s, then there's little or no time spent on the layout. That soon goes out of the window, so to speak. I must also say a big thank you to all the new subscribers. I'm not one for turning out loads of videos or trolling for subscribers or doing subscriber specials to satisfy the ego or anything. I just enjoy documenting my build in the hope that it's of interest to somebody. And with it being a folding layout, and also trying to develop the road system and working goods yard crane, then I'm just hoping it helps somebody or inspires a few people, and they can add their own twist to it or improve on the ideas with it being a little bit out of the ordinary. And possibly at times it's a bit mad as well. But anyway, many thanks to all the old and new subscribers alike. It's very much appreciated. And thank you also to those people who just watch and find it some information or find it interesting. And if there's anybody who's got any questions or any problems, then don't hesitate to ask. If I can't answer it, I can perhaps point you in the direction of somebody who can. I don't at all expect you to troll through hours and hours of video trying to find a solution to your problem. So even if it's simple stuff and you're just starting out, then don't be afraid to ask. And even if you don't post your own videos, you could have a wealth of knowledge and know-how that's well worth passing on. So if you have got any suggestions or different ways of doing things, then please feel free to comment. There are often a dozen ways of achieving the same outcome, some far simpler than others. I'm not likely to jump out of my pram, providing the comments are constructive and we can all learn something. And all the better in some ways if it's criticism, because that means there's another opinion, and to me that's got to be a good thing, because the last thing we really want is for comments to become just a mutual appreciation society. Far better if there's some input and suggestions or criticism, because then you should be able to reassess your work, take a look at it, and see where improvements can be made, for example. Mind, I suppose a lot of things are quite subjective and personal to some extent. In one respect, we're all striving for realism, but one person's idea of realistic is not the same as the next person. Do you remember when I did that my first scratch built railway bridge and I got the height totally wrong? That was completely unrealistic. You could just about fit a house under the bridge, let alone a train. And now I cringe at footbridges that are 10 or 12 feet higher than something done to a reasonable scale. Or when you get a tunnel so short the Loco is out the other end before half the train has entered the tunnel. Again, I think that is completely unrealistic. Anyway, I'm rambling on. So what about my new Ivate 2MT? Is it a nice model? I suppose while we're on the subject of things being realistic, then we should ask, is the Ivate 2MT a realistic model? Well, how do we know that? I'm sure there's next to no one out there who knows the Ivate Loco so well that they could tell me the lubricator is in the wrong place or the cab door is the wrong shape. I'm no anorak, so I've got no idea either. And I'm not suggesting we start counting every rivet, but surely it would be interesting to see just how representative the model is to the real Loco. Only then can we really say it's a nice model. The Ivate 2MT was designed by George Ivate for the LMS and was a relatively small low-powered Loco, weighing in at around 49 tons with a tender of 38 tons. They were built for light mixed traffic duties, including pick-up freight and branch line work, which they were ideally suited for with their 60-inch driving wheels and relatively low axle weight. It was quite a modern design for the time, with attention paid to driver comfort and ease of maintenance. And as you can see, the tender was fitted with a cab to aid tender first running, with the sides of the coal bunker set inboard to give the driver and fireman good visibility. And they was withdrawn from service between 1961 and 1967, and I believe there are 7 remaining in preservation. So let me put a couple of pictures up on the PC, and from that we'll obviously lose some definition on the photos, and let's try and pick out a few details. You have to appreciate this is a N-gauge model and its height is no taller than a 50p piece, so trying to get decent photos of something black and black is not easy, and I have only found a couple of photos of the real Loco, and my thanks and credits go to the original owners of any photos used. They are only used for educational and comparison purposes, and no profit is gained in their use. Well, let's start at the front with the smoke box. That looks fairly representative. We've got the bar across the front, we've got the lamp bracket, there's a little appendage just there on the real one which isn't showing on the model. We've got the row of rivets around the front of the smoke box. We've got a series of rivets just halfway down there on the model. Can't really see the supports to the smoke box, but there's a couple of large bolts showing there which show up on the model. The main steam pipe down to the cylinders looks fairly representative. Nice representation of the handrail. I presume that's a steam takeoff, possibly for the injectors, and that again is quite nicely modelled, even down to the little detail that's showing just there. We've got two access plugs, one there and one there, one there and one there on the model. This will be the injector, which again looks as if that's nicely modelled. Can't see a lot of detail on the cylinder on this photograph, but proportionally it looks about right. Obviously the valve gear on something in N gauge, there's got to be a lot of compromises, but we've got the main support, that looks representative. We've got the reversing gear linkage, that looks nicely represented just there. We've got the tiny slide bars showing up there for the valves, and they're showing. There's a rather ugly large nut on the main crank, which is a little bit cumbersome compared to the real Loco, but that's only to be expected due to the scale. The spokes on the wheels look nicely represented with the counterbalancers. We've got this detail here which is probably hiding pipe work or something. That's also nicely represented. The dome is a nice shape. The safety valve looks slightly different, but I don't think that's too much to worry about. So all in all, from that photograph, I think a lot of the details have been captured. So moving a bit further back, again we see the lubricator, the steam pipe coming down the main frames. That's correct. There's a little detail there, that could be another lubricator. That's on the model. We've got this fairing just here, which again is nicely shaped. This will be the sandbox, little access cover here and cap on top. That's nicely detailed. There looks like a moulding line down there, but at this kind of size you'd never see that. We've got 3 clean out plugs or access plugs to the firebox. They're represented. 2 other access plugs further up. They're represented. The front cab window, nicely shaped, rivets round the edge. They're represented. All round there, those are showing. Again, we've got a pipe coming down just here. That could be a sand pipe, possibly, coming down there. That's represented. Again, the connections or the bolts for the model are quite large and clumsome, but that's to be expected. We've got the brake shoes nicely represented. We've got a sanding pipe coming down here between the 2 rear driving wheels, and we've got the sandpipe just there. We've got a cover on there which is not showing just there, but I presume that pipe seems to take a slightly different route. That's behind the fairing there, and it's a bit more visible there, but I think that's only a minor detail. We've got the glazed windows there, and the open window just there. We've got the detail on the roof of the cab, also cut back a little bit just there, cut back a little bit just there. We've got the doorway showing just there. So I think all in all, that's a very representative model or representation, considering the scale. Can't really see a lot of detail here. We've got the handrail represented, the rivets up to the roof of the cab, the bunker sides which are riveted there and there. We've got the rivets that look very representative. Can't see the line of rivets along the bottom there. The step looks a little bit of a different shape. There's a kind of an oval shape just there which I can't actually see. The springs look representative. The slide bars for the axle boxes just here. You've got 3 webs on each side of the axle boxes, and they're showing up nicely. And on here we've got a rear ladder which is showing on that photograph, but you'd think at that angle you'd be able to see it on there. So all in all, I think that's quite reasonable. We've got the dome for the water tank showing, and the handrail, so that's pretty good. Those are the best 2 angles I can get looking down this side of the Loco. Again, we've got the shed plate represented, the hinges for the smoke box. There's an extra curved bar on the model, not showing on the real one. 2 rivets just there and there, there and there, which are depicted. You won't see them on the
picture there, but those rivets there are represented rather. We've got the reinforcement for the coupling with rivets. The buffers look nicely represented. We've got the lamp brackets which are showing there. There's a hole in the main frame coming forward here. There's a hole just there which is depicted, and one just there in this gusset plate. You might not be able to see the gusset plate, but the gusset plate is there. I can't see the hole represented. The fairing around the main steam pipe down to the cylinder looks fairly well representative. This reinforcement piece on the smoke box support is representative, and I can see the rivets just there. I wonder if that's a superheater pipe, because it's going into the smoke box. I don't know, I'm not sure, somebody will have to correct me on that. But again, the flanges on there are nicely represented. The double flange just there, and then where it terminates in this block, that's represented with nuts on top. The fairing around this little device here is represented. The covers to the valve look nicely modelled. Got rivets around the edge just there, and again just here. Even the little detail on the side, single rivet or what have you just there. Maker's plate. So I think that is looking pretty reasonable. I did notice that from this angle there's a bit more of a upstand on the chimney. That's not quite as well defined on that angle. Again, the fairing is nicely represented. Oh bugger. We've got a good representation of the lubricator pipe coming up there. We've got the pipe running down the length of the boiler. It does seem to curve in a little bit more on the original Loco. It seems to curve in as if the firebox side is a little bit more rounded, and on the model it's possibly a little bit straighter. Got a sandbox on the main frame, and again that's nicely represented with the cap. There's a moulding line down there. There was the same on the other side. Detail around the top of the cab. They look like little holes. I don't know why there'd be little holes all the way around there. Rivets down the centre. We've got these little access points, the washout plugs again, handrail. All seems very nicely modelled to me. What detail can we pick out there? Not a lot, I don't think. We've got the access cover just there, 2 access points represented just there. Rivets nicely represented on the front of the cab, same just there. Handrails, I think we've got the pipe work from the injectors coming down just there. We've got a representation of that support onto the main frame just there. I think all in all, considering the size of her, then I think that is very, very reasonable. I very much doubt if we'll be able to pick anything out on the tender of any great importance. I'm not sure what that is, but that's represented, and you can see that the frames of the tender are also quite nicely represented. And we've got the ladder up over the back there, handrails round the edge. So I don't know what you think to that. I think all in all, you can't really grumble.
Sorry the camera was out of square with the monitor. I hadn't realised that had moved. Here we see the Ivate on the very lowest power setting, trying to climb the incline, which is 2%. For every 100 millimeters forward, the track is rising 2 millimeters. And I think in actual fact the driver must be constantly feathering the regulator, because I think he's got a substantial amount of wheel slippage. Hopefully these shots will also demonstrate just how small N-gauge actually is. When there's nothing on screen to denote the scale, and you're watching in full screen, anybody running 00 will automatically view things and compare it to what they're most familiar with, that being their own layout and locos. And the 00 lorry and 00 blue van soon puts things into true perspective regarding the scale. And it works in reverse, of course. I watch all your videos in astonishment at the fantastic detail you're achieving, totally forgetting that 00 is twice the size. I don't know. Anyway, I just hope that I have put N-gauge into some kind of perspective and shown what I think is some astonishing detail that has been captured in this Ivate Loco by Graham Farish. Some of you may have noticed the cutaway door on the coal wagon. I need to make a folding door for several wagons. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that's for my project where I'm hoping to depict coal being delivered into the sidings and unloaded onto lorries. I've also managed to clean out the transit tube all the way around the fields. As you can see there, Coombs Road has been resurfaced, and I've also been experimenting with my first ballasting without using the spray bottle to dampen everything down. With N-gauge, the fine ballast just floats off everywhere. So I've been managing to do a few bits and bobs here and there. Sorry that's taken so long. I have probably bored the pants off you all, but I hope it's been a constructive and objective look at a typical N-gauge model from Graham Farish. By all means feel free to comment or criticise, and I hope you've found something of interest. And as always, many thanks for watching.